The year was 2007. We were nearing the end of the George W. Bush administration. A housing market crash devastated the economy. Comedy clubs were not in great shape. Michael Bay's Transformers had just hit theaters, and Bo Burnham uploaded his very first YouTube video ever. Now, YouTube back in 2007 was pretty much its infancy, and there was really no rules. It was a Wild West type environment. Now, the website YouTube was created at an age where we were also getting used to everybody kind of having cell phones in their pocket, having cameras in their pocket. Like maybe the original YouTube videos, you know, like the first YouTube video, that was like a camcorder. You know, we were coming out of camcorders and coming into cell phone technology. Now, YouTube's original slogan was broadcast yourself, and that's what YouTube used to be all about. Someone would just stick a camera on one side of the room, and then you would get on your side of the room, and then you would talk to the camera, or sing to the camera, or play an instrument to the camera. YouTube first started when it was very, very new and very, very novel to be able to record yourself, upload it, and have, you know, millions of people see it. It was crazy. Here we are almost 20 years later, and it is a vastly different platform than it used to be. Becoming viral used to be, you know, chance, luck. You know, it wasn't really a data-based skill. It wasn't really a formula to virality. It was just authenticity. You know, people resonated with something and they shared it, and people word of mouth built. You know, it was a lot more natural. It was a lot more organic to go viral. You know, all of the information wasn't fed to a robot who then spit it out to other people. It was just ye old like button, you know, people liking stuff. Now, Bo Burnham started making these YouTube videos when he was in high school, you know, 15, 16. He was playing piano, playing guitar, performing his comedy skits in his bedroom to his camera. And Bo Burnham truly was one of the first people on the platform to really go viral again and again and again and again. You know, today's standards of viral might be a little inflated, but back in the day, if your video got 1 million views, you're a god now. And Bo Burnham was one of the very first creators to garner millions of views after millions of views after millions of views. Every single upload he did, there was an audience of people waiting for it. He was one of the first YouTubers, essentially, one of the first influencers on the platform. Now, today, people who blow up on the YouTube platform often stick to the YouTube platform, and efforts that they make to escape the YouTube platform usually often end up crashing and burning, and once you escape the YouTube bubble, you know, it feels like your bubble popped, essentially. Now, Bo Burnham, you know, has a lot to owe to the YouTube platform, but his career exists outside of YouTube. In fact, after those first, you know, round of YouTube videos got really popular, let's say from the ages of like 14 to 18. That's 4 years worth of making videos where Bo was able to take that online celebrity and turn it into a stand-up comedy career. He was doing the traditional stand-up comedy club route, much to the chagrin of some, you know, classic, chiseled, tried and true, traditional comedians. Now, Bo Burnham's accomplishments on the YouTube platform are just a drop in the bucket compared to the accomplishments of Bo Burnham's entire, you know, filmography, you know, discography, filmography, comediography. Bo Burnham, to my knowledge, is still the youngest person to have a 30-minute Comedy Central special. Bo Burnham filmed a 30-minute Comedy Central special a week after he turned 18. And look, when Bo Burnham was, you know, 18, I was 12. And so I was watching Bo Burnham on TV when I was like, you know, 13, 14, and saw him do it and thought, wow, you know, now I have a goal, you know? I remember the first 5 years of my stand-up career, I was always just trying to meet that goal of do what he did, you know? And so I owe a lot to Bo Burnham in that regard. By the time he was 25, he already had 3 comedy specials under his belt. We have the Comedy Central produced Words, 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 and then we have the Netflix produced What and Make Happy. Now, I'm very familiar with Bo Burnham's entire collection. His first album, I'm Bo Yo, is very, very young, very, very fresh at the time. It maybe paints himself as a fresh face on the scene. I'm the young guy in the room. You know, he's doing that early to late 2000s awkward white rapper thing. You know, I'm a gangster. I'm a straight up G. The gangster life is the life for me. White people can't rap. Isn't this funny? Songs like I'm Bo Yo, Bo for show, Oh Bo. I'm kidding. Oh Bo's a different album. You get what I'm saying. No, but even other songs on that album, like My Whole Family, New Math. These are songs that I feel like exemplified Bo Burnham's strong lyricism, wit, and cleverness, as well as just showcases his damn amazing musical ability. But at the same time, as a comedic performer, as a comedian, as an artist, Bo Burnham is still finding himself. He hasn't really found his voice. He hasn't really found his footing. He's doing the I'm what kids on the internet are doing. I'm what comedians are doing nowadays. He hasn't really diverged onto that uncommon path that we recognize Bo Burnham for today yet. He is still very much operating in the traditional YouTube parameters, in the very traditional stand-up comedy parameters. Words is kind of like a hour-long follow-up to I'm Bo Yo. Again, showcasing his lyrical and musical ability, showcasing his technical skill, while at the same time leaning into the white rapper thing. We do see him start to get introspective. And look, there have been video essay after video essay after video essay about Bo Burnham and his entire, stuff. So I'm gonna try not to repeat what's been said before, but if I do, forgive me, hopefully I'll say it differently. We start to see Bo Burnham's distaste for the industry that he exists in permeate within the performance. It's very cynical, it's very sarcastic, and it's very, over it, Like, one of the most famous songs on that album is Art is Dead. So famous, in fact, that I have Art is Dead tattooed on my body, in case you needed more reasons to call me a white woman. Now, his cynicism does turn to nihilism in his follow-up special, What? Where he very much just asks you the question, what? These bits in What are often, a little more nonsensical. He is starting to showcase more of his ability as a director in a live performance space. Now, unlike other comedians, he's using his theatrical roots. Lighting, sound design, it's musical comedy cranked up to a T. It's a musical performance. It's almost a one-man musical, really. Bo Burnham has taken what's worked from the early YouTube era, the broadcast yourself, the here's I am with the camera, while also marrying what is so enthralling, intriguing, entertaining about live performance, what's so immersive about live performance. And then we have Make Happy, yet another deconstruction of the industry that he is created in, but also despises. Bo Burnham is peeling more and more and more of the curtain back to show you why he is unhappy and why he feels the need to make happy. Bo Burnham's entire career was to put a mirror to the person who wants to broadcast themselves and give them the tale of woe. This is not the life you want. Bo Burnham did the thing we all dreamt of as kids and comes back to us as the ghost of Christmas future. Now, what makes Bo Burnham an artist instead of a YouTuber or a crazy person is his ability to articulate this feeling, articulate this pain, articulate this cognitive dissonance between the things we think we want, the things that we think will make us happy, and what we're told success looks like. And rather just do an angry rant on a talk show, he finds a way to communicate these thoughts and feelings and ideas in art. In the movie 8th Grade, the story from the perspective of a 8th grade girl, finally graduating the 8th grade. The way that her relationship to the internet and social media is cancerous to her mental health. Really, the internet in almost everything Bo Burnham has created has been the antagonist. And 8th Grade was followed up with Inside. Inside was a introspective approach to Bo Burnham's mental health during a time when everybody had to be introspective because we were all locked inside. Yes, it was a reflection on the things that led us up to this moment. It was a reflection on the cultural moment at the time. It was a reflection on everybody's mental health on a macro scale, but personal mental health on a micro scale. Are we healthy as a community, as a country, as a world? Probably not. What do we need to do? Go touch grass. But Bo Burnham was that kid who started off on YouTube just doing what he loved, writing jokes, writing songs, performing, putting the camera on the other side of the room and broadcasting himself. If anything, Bo Burnham should be the poster boy of YouTube. Now let's get to 2012. The modern day poster boy of YouTube has uploaded his first YouTube video. MrBeast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, uploads his first YouTube video, a Minecraft Let's Play. It's one of those videos where you're talking to the microphone and you have video game visuals over you talking. A style of video that was popular at the time. A style of video that a lot of people participated in. Some people still do it to this day. Some people deliver news about this person while playing video games as a visual. Insane world we live in. But MrBeast really started taking off in 2016, 2017, when the lore around this man was that he cracked the algorithm. Oh, giving away a bunch of money to the poor is good for the algorithm because it's positive and it's wholesome and it's good. And Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson, he's just doing all of this, because he's so good-natured and he's so benevolent and this content is so heartwarming. Why can't more creators, why can't more rich people be like this? This content makes me happy. YouTube spins the rise of Mr. Beast as a very, very heartwarming thing, a very, very touching thing. It's a very, very great PR move, the way that, Mr. Beast markets himself and the way that YouTube markets him as well. Now, once that first video, giving $10,000 to a homeless person, once that first video popped off, more and more videos like that happen on the channel. Jimmy studied about his own channel, what worked and what didn't, what got views, what didn't. He studied his own numbers, he studied his own algorithm, he studied his own analytics. Jimmy says early on in a lot of videos, whether talking to the camera himself or on podcasts, interviews, Jimmy says he has one goal, and it is to be the biggest YouTuber. That's all he wants. He just wants to be the biggest YouTuber, best YouTuber. I want to have the biggest numbers. I want to be the best. And that's, have you guys seen the movie Nightcrawler? Now, Nightcrawler is a movie about, so Jake Gyllenhaal, he plays a photographer who's trying to get his pictures in the news. So he shows up to crime scenes first, before even the police do, maybe doing very, very unethical things just to get the photo, just so he could be the best, just so he could beat the other guy, just so he could, have that edge. And even though his actions are very, very unethical and increasingly unethical as the movie goes on, he's rewarded in the society that is around him, even though he's doing bad things. You also see themes like this in movies like American Psycho. You see the trend I'm painting. Mr. Beast's early content, while heartwarming on the surface, is inherently exploitative at its core. While a lot of artists, who are thrust into the limelight, a lot of creatives who have to deal with a parasocial relationship, whether it is in the online digital media space or it is in the traditional Hollywood, film, TV space, a lot of the times you hear classic tales of struggle, conflict between the audience and the creative, or the studio and the creative. The creative usually wants to make something because it is a passion, usually wants to make something because it artistically means something to them. It resonates, with them in some way. It is an expression of something deep truth that the artist holds, and they need to communicate this deep truth at the behest and at the spite of the industry powers that be. There's usually that theme. Whereas the MrBeastification of YouTube is almost like a inverse of that, where creators on the platform nowadays just see what is popular. They just see what is working. They see, how do I get the numbers? How do I get the bag? How do I, do what he did? And so rather than working backwards from your artistic expression, rather than have an idea for like a fun video or an entertaining video or something that you really wanted to make, you're just working backwards from the numbers. And that can be fun if you like numbers, but I think it takes a bit more thinking, it takes a bit more creativity, it takes a bit more ethics to not just look at the data and work backwards from the data, but interpret the data. And look, Jimmy's good at interpreting data. So much so that he knows exactly what makes kids glued to their screen longer. He knows these psychological tricks that kind of manipulate and deceive kids into thinking that he's a good guy and that this is good work. And like they really worship this guy, when behind closed doors, I know how this guy talks to people. That's just my personal shit. I know how this guy thinks of the poor. I know how this guy thinks of himself. I know as a creative, when I was working at MrBeast, all I did was butt heads with Jimmy constantly, because I'm not a numbers guy. In fact, most of the ideas that I had when I was working there were left on the cutting room floor because I was told, and I quote, "This is too weird. You could alienate some people with this. Just because this isn't everybody's. If one person on Earth finds this not funny, then it's not going in. So there's no risks being had." I said in one of my previous videos, I'm a punk band and I got hired to work for Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is very, 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 very popular. Taylor Swift is very, 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 very approachable. I wouldn't argue Taylor Swift is as formulaic as MrBeast, I would argue MrBeast is more formulaic than Taylor Swift. But this is why I firmly believe that Bo Burnham's career will outlast the MrBeastification of the internet. Now, Jimmy's method of hitting the algorithm from the back with the utmost research and execution hasn't just permeated YouTube, it's also permeated the entire internet. The MrBeastification runs deep. So much so that I would argue that sensational journalism, clickbait title thumbnails, streaming services making their shows follow similar retention mechanisms, all at the behest of advertising, making CEOs more money, and putting the boot on the neck of the actual creatives until AI comes in and replaces everybody. The industry standards that creatives used to rebel against since the beginning of media are all the things that MrBeast is aware of, harnesses, and uses to thrive at the behest of worker safety, at the behest of the safety of women and children, all to serve an image of a golden boy, an inauthentic and disingenuous lie. Bo Burnham saw this lie a decade earlier, and he tried to warn us. Bo Burnham saw just how shallow the industry was. Bo Burnham saw how manipulative and deceptive social media, performance art, comedy, tech bro, data analysts. He saw the way that moneyed interests and marketing and industry standards were ruining creativity, were ruining art, were constantly at odds with the people that were actually making the stuff. And his heart broke. He saw that art had died, and he was the bearer of bad news. But it's because of this foresight, it's because of his understanding that these are bad things, rather than working backwards from the bad things, he went the other way. Bo Burnham stopped uploading YouTube videos. He didn't really care about his online presence. He took a craft on the road, and he worked tirelessly to have 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 separate hours of stand-up. And each time, by the way, he's making buttloads of money. Bo Burnham has millions of dollars because every single special he sold to Netflix for $1 gajillion. 8th Grade was a movie that he wrote and directed that made him a bunch of money. Inside was a cultural phenomenon. People bought his vinyls. People had Bo Burnham merch. He had live concert tours all over the nation. Bo Burnham's not a broke bitch. But Bo Burnham never made homeless people dance for cash for the amusement of himself or the audience. No, Bo Burnham only, put himself through trauma. Now, in the early days, Jimmy would do these challenges where he would bury himself alive for X amount of days, or he would say Logan Paul 100,000 times, content. Now, Bo Burnham's inside. He was just locked inside during the pandemic. He was showcasing the mental distress, of somebody who locks themselves inside, of somebody who is mentally decaying from the media that they're consuming. But it was like a dramatization, Like Inside wasn't a documentary, it wasn't real. He's a performer, he's an artist, I'm sure he was elevating real emotions, I'm sure he was performing. It was very good, it was very well done. It got the artistic message across without actually having to torture himself, without actually having to torture anybody. And yet he was still able to communicate those ideas. Wild what art used to be. Now, Jimmy does the opposite. Jimmy does the thing. Jimmy actually puts himself and others through the torture, and Jimmy doesn't react to it because he's a crazy person. But real people react to it because they're real people. And so, rather than painting a picture of income inequality and then coming in with a half-hearted excuse narratively, he just shows you income inequality and then shows you how he exploits the income inequality. Nobody learns anything. There's no heartwarming message. There's no substance. Do you understand? The MrBeast model is dependent on the audience having feelings for the people in these situations, whereas art made by Bo Burnham and other creators doesn't rely on the actually impoverished, doesn't rely on the actually mentally ill. It's an artistic expression. It says something. It makes you feel something on your own, from scratch. It's inherently not exploitive. Writers and directors make pieces of film like Saving Private Ryan or Full Metal Jacket. Those are movies about war that have statements to say about war and men and masculinity and the imperial industrial complex. And MrBeast videos are just, what's up guys, I'm here in war. For every 50 guys I'm gonna shoot, I'm gonna give my wife back home 100 war bonds. Art is supposed to be a humanistic expression, and the MrBeastification of YouTube has removed humanity from YouTube. You no longer are broadcasting yourself, you're data mining. You're just generating wealth from children because they're looking at the ads that you've trained them to sit and wait for. You're not making content. You sell candy. Now, to put the final nail in the coffin in this point I'm making, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a movie. It came out in the 70s. They did a couple of remakes. We know it. MrBeast in the Willy Wonka video that he did. Again, he's counting on your preconceived knowledge of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, even though Jimmy doesn't watch movies. He assumes you as the audience does. He steals all of the emotional attachment you have to that film. And while Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a movie was about selling candy to kids and the dangerous things that kids could be consuming, you know, the themes of factory exploitation, right over Jimmy's head, similar to Squid Game, and just goes, that is awesome, I'm going to do that. But when, and this is behind the scenes tea, scoop, whatever, fuck you. When MrBeast was, working with Warner Brothers to make the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory video that he did so that he could sell more candy to kids, he asked the Warner Brothers executives what the retention rate on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was. And they said it was 100%. It was a movie. People used to go to movies and watch them, That's what the people used to do. You used to buy a ticket and you'd watch the whole thing. You wouldn't walk into a movie, get 4 minutes into it and go, I'm bored, and then go do something else, That's insane behavior we do today. No, Jimmy doesn't love movies. He uses them. And Jimmy doesn't love the poor. He uses them. Bo Burnham uses instruments. His brain, theatrical motifs. Bo Burnham's career has lasted so long because he, as an artist, was allowed to mature past the limits of the environment that created him. Bo Burnham was created in the YouTube environment. Bo Burnham was created in the stand-up comedy world. But Bo Burnham's artistic evolution was allowed to pass the ceilings that were presented in front of him. He didn't just look at the ceilings around him and thought, how do I be the biggest guy in my ceiling? Bo Burnham wasn't trying to be the best. Bo Burnham wanted his vision to be heard. Now, I do hope that the tides are changing and that YouTube does put more effort into pushing creators like they used to, the good old days, your Jenna Marbles, your Ryan Higas, not so much your personalities, but your people, your real human. There used to be human faces behind those Adderall eyes. And every creator I have worked with, and I do mean every creator I have worked with in the YouTube space, I did get that work because I used to work over at MrBeast. And every time I get somewhere, they are doing the human thing. They are doing just the guy with the camera. We're making fun stuff because it's fun. Everywhere I always get, when they hire a writer, it means that's great. That fun company is expanding. And then they always ask me, how do we do what Jimmy did? And everybody works their content backwards from the algorithm, because they're afraid that their artistic expression isn't going to bring home the big bucks. So most creators do what's a safer investment, and they follow the money, and they track the data. That's what a good investment is. It's well researched. And not insider trading at all. But no one's making a risk on art anymore. Well, Bo Burnham is, and that's why Bo Burnham's one of the best of all time. If you want to talk about a return on investment, Bo Burnham probably spent a hot nothing on that Inside special. I don't think he had to spend $120 million or whatever dumbass bullshit budget that Amazon gave Jimmy for the Beast games. I bet Bo Burnham made Inside on 5 nickels, and I bet his return on investment was much greater than whatever the Beast games is going to bring in. Now, I could talk all day about Bo Burnham, but I'll spare you. But if you do like this video and want me to talk more about Bo Burnham, then leave a like. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know who else I should do videos about. Some people I want to talk about that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet. Taylor Tomlinson, Neil Brennan, Drew Michaels, some more Gerard Carmichael. Maria Bamford? Who do you want to see? Leave it below. Is there a dumbass YouTube trend that you think is silly and I should talk about it? Leave that down below as well. We do have members stuff. We have Patreon stuff. But at the very, very least, if you just want to like and subscribe, all that jazz, I would greatly appreciate you.